A A-list celebrity is now suing Tony Busby, saying you are extorting me. This could be good news for Diddy. I got two of the best lawyers to break it down. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and what a panel. We got Christopher Melcher and Raiz, our beard lawyer here. Both of you, welcome back, both of you guys. Chris, how are you doing? First, let's start with you.
Doing pretty good. Glad to be part of the group here.
Aren't you jealous of that beard? I mean, he's got the best beard in the biz. Raiz, good to see you, my man. How are you?
Good, excellent. Good to see you as always.
Look, I want to get right into this because there's a lot to talk about with you both, and I'm glad because I want to get both your instincts. I'm going to shut up. But the big news that just dropped is that a prominent A-lister celebrity guy is suing Tony Busby. And honestly, I can't say I'm surprised at this point. This is obviously the lawyer, 120 cases. He's been mentioning these A-list talent. He's going to come after them. He's been out there. It pretty much felt like a shakedown. It's unclear what they did or what's involved. Now, we've seen certain cases where some of these people were witnessing criminal acts. Unclear which people he was talking about. Either way, this identified as John Doe filed his own lawsuit this morning, describing himself as a high-profile individual who knew Diddy, attended events along with the mogul. He's been repped by one of the premier law firms in the country, Quinn Emanuel, which I've been told by Chris is a no-joke law firm. I've heard of them too, but they are very well funded. The man behind it, Tony Busby, and his firm threatened to unleash entirely fabricated and malicious allegations of SA, including multiple incidents of a minor, both male and female, against plaintiff if he refused to comply with their demands. Suit goes on to say that Busby's demand letters alleged the plaintiff R the males and the females while they're under the influence at parties hosted by Diddy. The plaintiff references past lawsuits Busby has filed against other celebrities, including football star Deshaun Watson. The man claims Busby tried to shake down Watson and others by making dubious claims he knew would not stand up in court. The lawsuit obtained by TMZ goes on to say Busby did the same thing to Green Bay Packer Brandon McManus, allegedly threatening to sue him over specious allegations of SA. Suit claims the NFL investigated and found insufficient evidence and closed the case. The new lawsuit by John Doe references our documentary, which they go on to talk about, where he does sort of admit in this documentary, yeah, this is how it works. Chris, I want to go to you first. Is this how it works? We've been seeing this a lot where these lawyers are out there basically like, you better buy the tape, you better do it. This is how it is legally. But it has been feeling a little bit of a shakedown to me. What's your reaction to this?
Well, I'm not surprised by it. And there's a fine line between representing a client and going to the alleged perpetrator and saying, hey, we have a claim, please pay us, or we're going to go to court. There's nothing wrong with that. Is actually what the law would expect, is you try and work stuff out without going and asking a judge or a jury for help. It's kind of a last resort. So there's nothing wrong with that. However, it crosses the line when the lawyer has not done sufficient due diligence to establish whether these are credible or reliable information, and they're just simply demanding payment in exchange for keeping embarrassing info quiet. That could be the crime of extortion. Now, what kind of caught, I think, all of our ears when Busby was doing the press conference about the 120 people that he was representing that actually sued Diddy and others, or were about to, he kept talking about these celebrities out there who were involved, and they knew who they were and were kind of coming after them, and he never named them. And to me, that was suspect because, again, one thing to send a letter to that target, why do a press conference about it other than to basically show the target, you see what I can do. I have a platform and I will start naming you unless you pay me. And I think that's what got him in trouble.
Raiz, I want to go to you. I mean, do you share that? I mean, he's out there threatening, it seems like, hey, I'm going to constantly do this. We saw this with Ariel, I remember, on the News Nation clips. We talked about it with both you guys, how she was seeming like, you better buy this tape. It's going to get a thing. It felt very similar. Can lawyers get away with this? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we don't have all the facts, but I will say this. If this John Doe plaintiff, right, is going to Quinn Emanuel to sue and is saying that this is extortion, Tony Busby needs to be concerned because it's probably not a nothing, right? And let's not forget that Michael Avenatti, you may remember this name, some years ago, is doing 30 months in prison on a charge for trying to extort Nike for $25 million. He ended up ultimately getting charged with a bunch of other financial crimes, right? Which got tacked on. The dude is in prison, is my point. So attempting to extort celebrities and high profile people by saying, we have this, and making things up and attempting to extract money in a shakedown is absolutely extortion. Now, to Chris's point, there is a proper way to do this, which is not extortion, which is to have a valid legal claim, to have it documented, and to bring it out through the due course of litigation. The problem is, right, if I'm Tony Busby's lawyer, I'm saying, dude, you've been on the news quite a bit saying you have this, that, and the other thing, and that people need to pay. And where is that evidence, right? Was this, in fact, a shakedown and an attempt to just get extort money in a gigantic settlement for things that you don't even have proof of, and do it just because P. Diddy is a infamous now celebrity?
Yeah, it's interesting, Chris, because he had that 1-800 number. He's been putting out, 120. We had thousands of people. It almost felt like he was throwing the number out to sort of justify it. Meanwhile, I think he's only done like 10, maybe a dozen actual lawsuits. Could this all been sort of a tactic to try to seem like it was more aggressive to get these sort of offers taken seriously by these celebrities?
Oh, absolutely. And so the thing is that, he's in business, and Busby, if you can go look at his social media, has a very large lifestyle. He has been a successful lawyer. But this guy's got, mansion and jet and all kinds of fancy cars. It's kind of like too much. And so there's a lot there that he needs to support. So he's got to bring in new cases and to keep this thing going. And so there was definitely showmanship happening there. He got a huge amount of attention, assuming he had 120 people there. But like you say, we didn't see 120 lawsuits. So he's definitely trying to drag business and then, to get some clients to sign up. And then he's going to go after the hotel or who knows, the baby oil manufacturer, all these other people other than Diddy to extract a settlement from them, because he's not going to see a dime from Diddy until the criminal case is over. The civil case is going to be on hold. And, some viewers, if you're kind of follow this stuff in detail, might be thinking, well, isn't there a privilege to make comments about, a defendant in a lawsuit? Yes, there is. And we can't be sued for what we say in the course of litigation. But remember, here, there is no litigation. Busby did not sue the A-lister, only talked about that person. And it doesn't even seem like a lawsuit necessarily was contemplated or ready to go, because he still hasn't filed it, over a month out from doing that press conference. So I don't think he's going to be protected by the so-called litigation privilege.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I've been covering this, I've seen more and more people feel confident to just throw names out. People allegedly, we've had a few people on, and I've covered myself saying, look, we can't prove it, but I'm kind of not surprised to see somebody finally stand up. Honestly, it's if it's a lie, they should, and this would be interesting. But the problem with this is it obviously then can negate all the other real actual victims of Diddy, and that's where things are getting intense, because it's not just this now. I got to say, between today's news, it sure does feel like Diddy got a win today in the press, because now, coupled with Busby's sort of reaction, we got this, which we talked about, but it actually has gotten even more serious since our earlier report. Diddy's team is accusing them of outrageous conduct and basically sweeping the jail to get his prison notes, which goes against the client, attorney privilege. As we reported on, if you missed that, check it this morning, you'll get more information about it. But the judge has already responded, saying they have to respond. Basically, they have 20 more minutes by end of day, 5 p.m. today. The court will hold a hearing tomorrow at 3 p.m. We're going to be live. We'll be live actually at 2 p.m. to go through this and more. So I'm going to put it right at the end of this. Stay tuned. We'll be live covering this hearing. But this has got to be a big deal, Reis, like to see that they're now, this was a concern of ours. We taped a video. Sadly, I screwed up. So Reis' first video is lost in the ether. But to share what we talked about or recap it, this is serious. Now, if they were scanning the prison for notes or for items and then took Diddy's legal notes and then used that to keep detaining him in a prison, that's not helping his due process. And that could potentially hurt his opportunity to free trial and could cause a mistrial, no?
Yeah, I think 100% it would be unethical if prosecutors sifted through information and knew that they were in possession of information that was trial preparation material, or even worse, attorney-client privileged communications, And like I said before, if an attorney accidentally emails something and it gets to the other side, it's a known accident, it's an email, it's direct. The receiving lawyer has a duty to actually sequester and destroy it. You shouldn't even read past the first line if you know it's that obvious that it's to the client or to co-counsel, and it happens. You can't use it to then, oppose a motion and say, ha, gotcha, look what you're doing. It's completely unethical. Now, we don't know all of the facts, right? This is happening in somewhat of a vacuum, but the judge is obviously taking it seriously because ahead of a hearing that was for Friday, he's setting a hearing tomorrow. So it is absolutely serious, and or setting a hearing today, rather. So it is extremely important that we flesh this out. And if in fact there was misconduct, I think the judge is going to come down extremely hard.
Yeah, I mean, what's frustrating is obviously how this can affect the truth from coming out, and so that's what I'm worried, because as we talked about, Reese, also earlier, sort of the fact that he was trying to influence witness testimony, taint the jury. We went through a lot of examples, and we're going to go through it tomorrow during the live. But the short version of it, he was using prisoners' pack numbers to sort of go against the monitoring system. He was paying them off through the commissary to get their numbers, get their calls through these third-party calls. Now, Chris, we were talking before the stream. This doesn't show what kind of calls he was doing. Doesn't show he was doing any criminal or other things like actually tampering with witnesses, but it shows he's breaking a lot of these rules. It also revealed that he was using his children to post those things on Instagram, which was just sort of disgusting to see. All these kids, this birthday video was complete manipulation, where he was on with them the next day asking about how the viewership did and all the data to ensure we could taint the jury pool according to this document. So, I mean, Chris, is there a version of all this stuff which is problematic, which is also part of the reason he's still detained? But could all of this sort of blow up in the face of, look, he's not getting a fair trial. Sure, he's also sneaky and he's doing stuff. But is there a version where maybe Diddy's doing all this on purpose, like leaving notes out for the prison officers to find, potentially, telling his celebrity friend to sue Busby to try to curry favor and twist this story from a PR standpoint more to his favor? What do you think's going on?
Well, I think the government kind of fell into its own trap. Look, I mean, violating the rules of detention there, in using somebody else's account to make a phone call, okay, fine. Maybe there's some, consequences around that, but that's not a reason to hold him in pretrial detention. So they're really going to need to connect this with witness intimidation, threats to a witness. They're really going to have to go there, in my mind, to make this relevant. Because remember, what was supposed to happen is that Diddy was going to go to New York, which he did, to voluntarily surrender himself to be booked on the indictment. And then the feds swooped in the night before, grabbed him out of his hotel room and threw him in jail, and there he has sat ever since. And we knew when that happened, it must have been like something he was either going to take off or he was threatening witnesses. So they said, yeah, he was trying to threaten witnesses. That's why we needed to hold him. So now they're facing now this third bail hearing where he's trying to get out, which most people have the right to do, by the way. And they're saying, hey, we found some evidence that he's still threatening people. And if true, that would be a great reason to hold him. But now they went in and did a search of his cell, and it would be foreseeable to the investigators and prosecutor that Diddy would have attorney-client communications, like letters to or from his lawyer in his cell, or notes to himself about trial preparation, which he has a right to remain silent, and they don't get to see that. So to go in there and search that stuff, they're going to most likely encounter privileged information. So what they needed to do was have kind of sanitized search team, a group of investigators or prosecutors who are not involved in the prosecution of this particular matter, look at the stuff, or maybe have a magistrate or special master go in and filter that so that only the non-privileged information that actually showed some level of guilt here for the violation of prison rules or threatening of witnesses made it into the hands of the investigators or prosecutors who are handling this case. If they took that step, they should be fine. If they didn't, I would imagine, and this is why this court got excited about these questions, is saying you need to answer them today, government, because if they did go and violate this guy's rights, then I got to think that they're going to be precluded from probably using any of this evidence about using code words and other people's phones at the bail hearing. That'll be at minimum the remedy. potentially all the way up to disqualification of the prosecution team to replace them out, or even as much, if it's serious enough, dismissing the case, cite Alec Baldwin.
Ray's thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think this could lead to that?
I think it's a severe punishment. And if in fact it's the case that prosecutors knew what they were holding could incriminate this defendant, and it was in his jail cell, and they knew exactly what it was when they got it, which it seems like they should, I really do think the judge is going to come down pretty hard on them. I mean, it's an emergency hearing. It's being taken seriously. And again, I think Chris is right. I don't think that this means that, pun intended, it's a get out of jail free card, right? I mean, I don't think the judge is going to look at this and say, P. Diddy, sayonara, have a great Thanksgiving, and you can go back home to your family. But also there's another fight in tandem, which is, P. Diddy trying to control the optics of what a jury is going to see through social media and his family, which again, we knew he was trying to do that back when the allegations of him assaulting Cassie came out. Remember, because he had the picture of him and his baby. All of a sudden on social media, there's no baby pictures and there's baby pictures. And so he's not a dumb guy from a PR standpoint. But all in all, right, on the whole, this doesn't mean that he's getting out. And I think whatever happens at this hearing very, very soon, the judge is going to take it very seriously, and somebody's probably going to get slapped.
Well, as we're taping, this just came in, which was Busby has responded. We're going to end with this. He says he's fighting back strong. He won't be intimidated, nor will his clients. He says, here's the quote. He won't be back down. We won't allow this powerful and high-dollar lawyers to intimidate or silence SA survivors. Busby's lawsuit says the firm is not only without merit, but also laughable. He goes on even further to say the suit is an abuse of the legal system. He tells us he sent a standard demand letter to New York to a New York lawyer known to represent the individual in question, seeking a confidential settlement on behalf of two clients instead of a lawsuit. He says no dollar figures were included in the demand letters and no threats were made, contrary to the allegations in the suit against him. Busby got testy. I'm a U.S. Marine. I won't be silenced or intimidated. Neither will my clients. Quickly, Chris, just because now we're wrapping it up. Do you think that's a good response? What do you think?
Well, yeah, sure. It's all going to come out. It's going to come out if threats were made, like Grace mentioned about the Nike thing. They recorded Avenatti, and Mark Garagos was actually present at that meeting. They recorded it. So if Quinn Emanuel thought they were being shaken down, they go to the FBI and they tape record it, and that might have happened. We'll see.
Right, and Quinn Emanuel race is no joke. They're keeping tabs and wouldn't have this if they didn't know better.
Yeah, look.
So Busby's sweating is what do you think he's actually sweating behind closed doors?
Tony, do I think Tony's sweating behind closed doors? I think any reasonable lawyer getting, a demand or a lawsuit like that would. But we don't know the facts. Like, we don't know all the evidence, right? So right now, what we're seeing is a lot of splashes in the public's eye. As lawyers, we make decisions on facts, right? What we think a judge or a jury is likely to believe based on a factual presentation. And we don't have all the facts. We have a lot of, PR banter right now, but it's getting extremely heavy, right?
It is getting heavy. Make sure you follow Reis over on Instagram at Beard Lawyer, and you follow Christopher on Twitter over at CA_divorce. What if I could do this all day, but we got to wrap it. We'll have them back, each of you separately and together. Loved having that chat. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell for all alerts. We'll keep you posted, and we're going to be live tomorrow, 2 p.m. to give you all the updates and the hearing. This could get spicy. There it is on the left. Go hit remind me. Join us tomorrow live. Don't miss it. This is going to be a big one, I think.